that exists but can't be seen. It is the united hope of the future. Let's celebrate unity and connection.
Ultraviolet DXB. This is Ultraviolet.
Hey, sorry I'm late. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So welcome to Ultraviolet DXB. We're super excited to have Giuseppe here. Giuseppe is an artist and an art producer living in Sharjah. So you've produced about 50 major local and international exhibitions and about like 150 different educational programs. You're very involved in the community's activities. And now you're working on, since 2019, Evolve.
Thank you, Noor, and thank you for inviting me to this conference at Ultraviolet. It's very exciting. Yeah, it's been like almost 14 years now that I'm based in the UAE. I was before in Sharjah, and then for 10 years, and then I moved to Abu Dhabi, and then now I'm based in Dubai. So yeah, I started as an artist. I studied at the Accademia di Belle Arti in Rome. I'm an artist myself, so I kind of navigate the world of being an artist and being a producer. So I kind of understand what are the language, what are the challenges, and what are the issues that artists face all the time. So I'm kind of between these two worlds, these two parallel worlds.
The link, the connector.
Yeah, the connector. Facilitator, they call it. So yeah, I studied art. I practiced art a lot before, and then much less when I start to work. When I start to run an organization in Sharjah. So to go back to 2010, I start to I co-found Maraya Art Centre, which was still active now, an art center in Sharjah that promotes emerging artists from the region and the Gulf, with a special focus to the emerging scene, basically. And then I was proudly part of the foundation of 1971 as well, which is a design space also based in Sharjah on the Flag Island, also focus on nurturing designers from the region. And in the meantime, in a parallel level, in a parallel world, I was also exhibiting my work. So I was exhibiting in Europe, in the UAE. I was exhibiting also at the Sharjah Biennale in 2009. I participated in exhibition in Cyprus, in Tunis, so quite in Alexandria, in Egypt as well.
Amazing, yeah.
So I was like experiencing these two careers.
You to this region from Rome?
I came here for because I really like the region, and then I really like the culture, and then I want to discover more. So I tried this experience, and then I want to understand also the culture. I want to understand what was happening here. It was an interesting time, 2007. It was also prior crisis, so there were a lot of interesting projects happening, a lot of ideas, and a lot of people from different parts of the world coming together. So it was an interesting experience.
A little bit about like what was it that drew you to art? Like when did you adopt your love and passion for art?
And when I was at the high school was an important part, because I was studying art also in high school. I was in design and architecture. Was more kind of like on the architecture side, but then I decided to explore the visual arts, and then I did like an extra curricular course, and then I decided to study art at the Accademia di Belle Arti, which is the University of Art in Rome. And then from there, it's like piece by piece. Like I've been always a creative person. My father is a photographer. My mother is an artist as well. So we've always been involved in the art world.
Tell me about some of your, your biggest influences, kind of, and why.
Yeah. So coming back to my study in Rome, I studied university painting and history of art at the Accademia di Belle Arti. So during that time, my professor was Cecilia Casorati, was a very, played an important role because I discovered so many artists through her, Cindy Sherman, Christian Boltanski, who I end up interviewing for my thesis, and then Fabio Mauri. So all names that resonate and like very importantly in my background. So I end up also working for 2 years for Fabio Mauri. So Fabio Mauri was another important key role player in my history, because he was one of those artists that use philosophy and in reference from historical reference, and then he very intellectual, very deep in thoughts, and like working for him was very, very important. He's that kind of artist who's not driven by materials and visuals, but more of concept theories and abstractism, right? So
right.
I was kind of working. He was quite old. He now passed away in 2010. But I was supporting his production, because he was that kind of artist who had a brilliant idea but don't know how to materialize it, how to make it here. So I was working the production as well, and that was an important experience. And then I think another when I moved here, meeting Sultan Al-Qassimi was also a very important point, because Sultan is a researcher, he's a writer, and then he is a collector. So meeting him at around, it was 2008, at the very beginning when he started his collection, the Virgil Art Foundation, was very important, was very interesting for me as an experience, because I kind of experienced all that process that led him to create the Virgil Art Foundation.
And one of the leaders kind of in the arts, being active in the arts community here, it was kind of like a quick way to connect with the scene and what's happening here.
Yes, and he's still one of my reference, not only in the region but internationally. His experience, his way of thinking is always forward-thinking, progressive. So I really like. Spending half an hour with Sultan is like spending 2 months with regular people. So
amazing. Yeah. So that's amazing. Okay, and tell me now, like currently, let's talk about the work that you're doing currently. Are you still, I know that you're doing Evolve Art and you have a few other projects under that umbrella. Are you still producing your own art at the moment?
Yes, I produce art. I still do. Let's say I'm mostly on a research phase, especially during this lockdown. I've been reading a lot. I've been reading, and I have the luxury to go to read a book and go back to the reference of the book, which was like almost impossible before with the busy time, So I have the time now to do a lot of research and to talk to people, to talk to old friends that work in university professors, so to exchange ideas, and more on a let's say academic perspective. Production-wise, I'm not physically producing anything. I'm more like on, as I said, research. So I'm more like creating visuals through Photoshop, through like graphics, because I'm very much interested into geopolitics and as an artist, I mean, geopolitics and maps, geographical maps. So that's my interest.
Cool.
That's an artistic point.
Tell me about Evolve.
So Evolve is basically the need that I have to be independent. When I stopped working for government, I decided that I want to start my own consultancy. So I'll be working independently with more freedom, and at the same time to be also more flexible with the project. So I started Evolve, and then basically for art consultancy, working on commission projects, on specific production for exhibitions. And then I have to say that it was quite good that as a start, I start to work with the UAE Unlimited, for example, is a private initiative of Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan. And then I start to work for EMAR, for a new art initiative that is going to be launched by the end of the year. And then I was also appointed as a curator of SICA 2020, which is now 2021. And then that's how we...
That's where we met. Yeah.
And yeah, that's are the three major things that I'm working on. And then starting to work also with Ajman government, which is quite interesting because Ajman is expanding into art commissions and public art projects. So I'm quite involved with them in terms of
That's amazing. Actually, you know, like I think we can both agree that like I mean I've been here for 8 years, and I think it was pretty rare to see public art installations up until recently. So specifically here, you know, that's something really that I missed about being in Europe and then versus being here in the Middle East or in this region. So, you know, let's talk a little bit about how that came about, because you've been here for a while. So I'm sure that you've seen that type of progression, and like, you know, I'm sure that you have also been a part of that. But tell us a little bit about like the scene of public art installations.
I think I experienced like a good part of the evolution. I mean, of course, not a lot, but there are people, artists, that experience much more. But I have to say, from 2005, which is the first time that I came here, when I saw for the first time the Sharjah Biennale, and then in 2007 when I moved for good here, I started to see more and more. And in 2008, from 2008 until 2010, there was this kind of trend and need from especially from the local institutions to support emerging talents from the UAE, and slowly it became UAE based. So I experienced this evolution of supporting strictly Emirati talents to the support of UAE based talents. So that was, I think, an important turning point. That like a good statement that's how visionary is this country on these regards, you know, on giving also opportunities to UAE based, not only Emirati. So that was an interesting part, and I was part of these also because with Maraya we were sending artists for residencies, we were supporting artistic production. So we experienced I experienced that first let's say that generation artists that came through to between 2009 to 2013, and then to 2014, 16, another wave, another generation, and now I think there are new generation coming up. I mean, with SICA being reviewing portfolios of new artists that I've never heard about, and they're very interesting. They are quite interesting projects. They have different perspective. They are from, you know, they are not millennial. Some of them are millennials. Some of them are the generation, so they have a completely different approach from the artists that I used to know 10 years ago.
And tell me, who do you think that are like the is it the property developers, or is it something that came about from like the government, and property developers to start creating these public or commissioning public art installations?
It depends. I work for example, in Sharjah, it was an entity that was semi-government, and in Ajman it's full government. In Abu Dhabi also was government. I was working for the government, for the Department of Culture and Tourism.
Nice.
And so now with this project with the Mar is as a property developer. So I think it's evolving now. We can see that. Yeah, art is not only supported by the government, by the authorities, but it's also supported by the private companies.
Amazing. That means there's progress, right? And more space and opportunities for artists.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, okay. And so now currently Evolve has got some other projects as well under the umbrella. Is that right?
Yeah. So there is an idea that I came up with. It was something that I was thinking since almost a year, but because of the lockdown, we were forced to do things more in a creative way. So I decided to start this adventure of Nnation 2.0. So again, it's I don't know, directly or indirectly, it's always somehow related to the geography. So I always like to look at maps and look at territories, and I'm always fascinated about that. So I always thought that we live in this modern world where we are connected. So we are part of this evolution of a state. So we are connected online. So we live in different countries, but we are all connected. And if we are like-minded people, no matter how far we are, but we are part of the same country, right? So I decided to call it 2.0, which is not the typical art name, because everybody was saying, why didn't call it art space online, or why at least you call it Art Nation? But I didn't like the idea to be like super clear, super transparent.
It's about bringing people together as well, and not necessarily only about the art. Is that what you mean? Okay.
Yeah, in a way, and also because I don't like the typical name, the stereotype name that has to be necessarily related to art, right?
Yeah.
So I like to leave a little bit of imagination also on the project. That
some space, some healthy space to fill.
So Nnation 2.0 is an artist-run project. It's a fully operative online. Now it's live with an Instagram account, and basically what I do, I identify artists that are not represented by galleries or they're not represented by institutions, and I feature their work with the idea of promoting them not only locally but also globally, because we are connecting with the structure of Nnation 2.0 is to connect with individuals, collectives, and institutions from different parts of the world. Luckily, I was lucky enough during these years to connect with many people from different parts of the world. So that was, I think the strength of the project. So artists that are not represented, they don't have enough visibility maybe, and that they, of course, they have a good body of work. I will feature their work on Instagram account, and then on the second phase, we're gonna focus on showing their work on the website. The website is a completely new format. Completely different parameters than the typical website. So we're not necessarily showing their work in a classic way. We are commissioning them to create a specific project for the web. So it's kind of creating a new media. It's like creating a new media where the artists are commissioned to use the media that they have on the web to deliver their message. So to make it more tangible, for example, an artist is using his existing visuals, and then the web developers is adapting these visuals in a structural design that is agreed between me, who I'm the commissioner, the artist, and the web designer. So
it's a whole new breed of showcasing, basically. You're
yes.
it's a completely different approach to showcasing and exhibiting work with this media interface as
Yes.
the predetermined outlet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
And the media they're nothing like super new, but they are like photo, videos, audio files. One of the artists is using virtual reality, but I'm avoiding as much as possible the virtual tools, the typical virtual tools, which is it's a completely different idea of what I'm working on. So I'm not showcasing an existing exhibition on the virtual tool,
internet. Yeah, it's more of, it's a new progressive art medium, which is what you categorize it as.
Yes.
And it can be a hybrid of different art mediums together, but focused for web.
Yes. Yeah.
So that brings me to my next question: the experiential factors that are really important for you to like deliver this experience for the viewer.
Yeah, first of all, I always start with the idea, with the concept. So if there is a message to deliver, if there is an idea to be expressed, this is always the initial part, the idea. Then we have all the type of media to deliver that message. So you can use all the media, all the different message. Technique, but mainly the fact that you have the flexibility to use different media on a platform that is accessible real time from everywhere, from everyone around the world. That's already a big achievement. And another thing that I'm focusing on is the fact that the project has to be prioritized to smartphones. So we are kind of tailoring the whole experience on a smartphone, because initially was okay. We have to deliver a project that goes on the computer, but then I realized that I want an immediate, effective, impact of the project. So many people will consume the artistic production through smartphone. So we are designing everything according to the smartphone. That doesn't mean that the project cannot be in future produced in a physical space. So we are working on that in that direction also. We are working on the parameters and details of the content developed that later on in a second phase could be, for example, produced for an exhibition in an art fair or in an art gallery. It can be printed, for example, or it can be a video that is installed in a physical space. Because I still believe that the importance of the physical presence in exhibition space. So visiting exhibition space, visiting museums is always it should not change. It will not change in future. During the post-pandemic, I think we will come back to what we used to do before, in a different way, with different approach, knowing and understanding that we have technologies that will allow us now to do things differently, but we will go back, let's say, to the old experience, which is the physical and then the immersive experience. This is very important.
There will be probably lots of challenges in trying to offer the same experience in real life on a smartphone. So good luck to you. But I mean, what is the biggest one that you're facing right now that you're like, trying to nail?
We are working with 3 artists, and all of them 3 have different requirements and different expectations. And luckily, they are easy to work with. So that that was my priority. There are different challenges. Mostly are technical challenges. I mean, understanding how to adapt their idea on this new platform, and some of them they still didn't figure out how to adapt all of their ideas into this platform, because they used to think always, okay, I have an idea. I use photography as a medium, so I will work on photography. I will create the Photoshop. I'll go to the printer. I'll print 10 editions. End of story.
It's been done. Yeah.
Here it's like, okay, we have to show it on the digital platform. Okay, but how interactive is this project? It is interactive. What do you mean interactive? I have to click here, right, left. How what basically the experience is how you are interactive with the project on the device, because the interaction is not necessarily the virtual tool reaction, the interaction, but it's more like, it could be like a series of slides, or clicking and exploring, for example, like the images through a journey. Or for example, there is a project, there's an artist working with the map, where you see the world map, and you click in different cities around the world, where you enter and you see the place that you have visited before, with the history, with with the historical reference. So there are different ways, but I would say mostly is they are all super fascinated, super excited to work on this project. But the things become a bit slow when they have to come up with the final result, because
you're reinventing basically. Yeah.
Yes, and the other challenge is also allowing the web designer or the web developer to code all these information.
Yeah. I can imagine.
So it's like you're installing an exhibition, but instead of installing an exhibition in a physical space, you're installing the exhibition on a
web space. Yeah.
Or the web coder is the guy who's come with a nail.
And can you give us some examples of some of the artists that you're featuring on Nnation 2.0 currently?
Yeah. So this is Marco Bernardi. He's an Italian artist based in Rome. He works with like between geopolitics and irony. So he's like showcasing the map of Italy in different forms, in different shapes, with different style. Especially because Italy, I mean, this project is 10 years old. Was going through a tough time during that time. So it was some kind of irony to see how Italy changed in terms of politics and culture very quickly. So he has these different editions of small Italies with different design, with different fabrics.
Nice.
And then we have Navid Azimi Sajjadi, who's an Iranian artist also, who's working with using a lot of symbology and iconography from his culture, and because he's Iranian, so using old in Persian Empire iconography, and also colonial iconography from Italy and from Turkey. So use like this kind of visuals in his work. And then we have Naji Kamouche. He's a French Algerian artist based in France. His work is very diverse. It's very very interesting. Of course, he's talking about here some using the carpet as an element in his work, like showing how the culture of carpet has been like influencing all the visual culture. Then she's Asma Belamhar. She's an Emirati artist also, who's working with textile, and then using imagery of landscape of the UAE in her interactive installation, and physical sculpture, a moving sculpture that, for example, these two installations are basically moving while the video is transitioning between these modules, these architectural modules. He's very, very interesting. He also is Algerian French artist, Jameel Cocaine, sorry. So he has this project called Come Invest in Us, You Will Strike Gold, which is very interesting, was exhibited in different major exhibition. And then you have, we have Paolo Monti is also an Italian artist who's very, very progressive project. He created an artwork project that is now on a satellite going around the world.
Wow.
Yeah, it's called 37788. It's the name of the
rocket.
The rocket, yes.
Yeah.
And will end in 2037. So this artwork basically is in that rocket since 2011, and ideally will be back on the and will land again here in 2037.
And it will have gone around the world,
yeah,
and beyond.
Yeah, you can track it. There is a link here. If you go on the account, you can find the link. You can track the satellite. Usually it's like on top of UAE at 1 o'clock every day.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. That's awesome. So that's a different experience that you wouldn't, for example, be able to experience in an exhibition necessarily. It requires this virtual technology and advanced technology. Awesome.
Yeah, and that's what we are working on with him because we are somehow recreating that experience on a virtual space, and try to add as much as possible content and information from that rocket.
I'm excited. This is exciting, actually. This is a whole new world.
And then we have Isaac Sullivan, who is an artist, professor, educator, and also DJ. So he works in different spheres.
Okay.
And then we have also Sujin Lee. She's a Korean artist working with space and installations in public space. Most of the time she used the material and the fabric that are purchased from the neighboring area where she is commissioned to create a work, and she kind of create link with the community. So it's a very interactive project with light installation, sometimes with the fabric and then other materials as well.
Super.
And then we have recently we showcased also Jeff Arcaldi. Jeff Arcaldi is very, I mean, is not really emerging. Is more like an established artist. He's a Palestinian artist that he's a painter. He's one of the best painter I ever met in my life. So, and the type of work that we showcase here is very interesting. Talking about different subjects, somehow related to the Middle East. So the latest artist that we featured was Jumeiri. Jumeiri is an Emirati artist who works with performative art installations, with electronic art and light, and using light and installations for his performances, and he's used also irony in his work, so he's very ironic. And his recent exhibition was Speculative Landscapes at NYU Abu Dhabi.
Amazing.
And now, of course, we have on track at least six new artists, with the idea also of now asking key role people around the world to also nominate artists that are that deserve to be promoted. So that's where we are now with the Nnation, and the website will be launched in September.
Amazing. So there you have it, guys. If you are looking for a virtual or online experience and access to art, just head on to Instagram, and the handle is Nnation.2.0.
Yes, every day there is a new post.
Fantastic. Tell me a little bit about the mission and like some of your goals that you would like to achieve through Nnation 2.0.
I think being, as I said before, being an artist and understanding the need of an artist is plays like an important part in my role, because I understand what are the challenges, and then I think that there are many institutions, many organizations who support artists, but there are really much more artists, much more art practitioners around the world that are they don't have the chance to be seen and to show their work. And most of them have a solid body of work. So, but they are not either represented by a gallery, they are not promoted, or they don't know how to promote their work. I'm not a specialist in promoting artists, but I understand what do they need. So basically, the idea is to identify these talents and then give them a platform, give them a space to show their work. This is one part of the project. The other part is to develop this new form of media, of commissioning artists for the online platform. And this is of course is not, as I said before, is not a virtual tour experience, and at the same time is not to be labeled as a web art, but it's more like defining a new form of expression for artists. So it's basically giving the chance, giving the opportunity to emerging and mid-career artists to commission them and to allow them to come up with some new different ideas.
And we've discussed, that this enables you to reach artists in like very remote areas. So is this enabling you to feature a different category of artists and different reach of artists?
Yes, the reason why I want to work with different people also who can nominate artists is that sometimes I don't know many artists from different parts of the world. So, for example, if I had to talk to, let's say, Pakistan, I'm not an expert in Pakistan. So I'd rather talk to an expert of Pakistan, someone who works in either academic or a curator or an institution, and ask them recommend one artist, or nominate one artist that that either like has lives in a remote area, or for example he doesn't have access to be visible. So these people basically help to identify these talents. And the plan is to identify them and to promote their work, and eventually see how things evolve, because it's all about also understanding, connecting people. So once we connect, one of the mission also of Nnation 2.0 is to create a collective of people who are, of course, like-minded and understand each other, and are not necessarily only artists, but also people who work in the art world, or people who are teaching at the university. So creating this link is very important, because the link eventually can develop into an opportunity.
Yeah, it adds definitely the importance of the community and people networking and getting together adds more space for collaboration and evolution. It speeds up the evolution of it.
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you. Like some tips that we can get from you, because we can use your experience and knowledge. So for anybody out there that's listening that wants some tips, let's say, okay, so what do you think are going to be the biggest changes that we can anticipate post-corona? What should we expect in the art world?
I think I have like I have a feeling that we are gonna go back more or less on how we used to work before, I used to do before, but with some small change. I think the change are that we will be more open to connect, we'll be more open to share and to collaborate. And something, I think something that will definitely will continue to exist is to have these like frequent connection with people, and to have like frequent dialogue. I mean, the technology was there before, but we were not using at the right time. We were using just as a last option.
Resort,
I mean, now, as a last resort. Now, the fact that we are we were forced to stay home, we realized that we have this gold in our hands, and we decided to use it to the full potential. So I think we will continue to connect more and to exchange more ideas and to be more connected also with the artists. So I think artists will work more in collaboration. There will be more dialogues and exchanging ideas, and there will be more influencing each other. So
from different cultures, hopefully, as well, from halfway across the world, which before it was, I think people were a lot more localized in collaborating with people within their local communities. So that's hopefully going to change. So how can the community best support artists?
Artists needs to have they are labeled as artists, as like someone who produce a visual project or a visual artwork. But artist is much more than that. In many cases, artists are considered thinkers. So I think it depends who you are. If you're talking about you as a Noor, or you as a institution or a company, I think we should look at artists as thinkers and think of how they can contribute and to our project, or to our ideas, or to our initiatives. So I think artists should be called on. I mean, should be considered not only for art projects, but also for innovation,
being a part of the thinking process and design process and development process.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, that's a very good point.
I'm not saying that all the artists are good at that, but there are some artists, like let's say a good amount of artists that are good thinkers. The amount of information, the amount of data that they collect in order to deliver their work is huge. So the amount of information that they have. I work as a curator also, as the artistic director. So I know that behind an artwork there is a lot of research. There is a lot of information. So this is like it's considered like a wealth of data, right? So
absolutely.
And don't forget how, for example, recently artists were commissioned by Hermes or Louis Vuitton, street artists or designers. So that kind of collabs are very important. I mean, and one example you can see at Seoul DXB, for example. When you go to Seoul DXB, you can see a lot of these phenomena, right? And every year is evolving and getting better and better. So
definitely, and the experience gets better and better for the consumers. Okay, so and then next tip: if you had to give advice for the new, talents, new artists that are just starting their journey and emerging, what is one sound piece of advice that you would say or offer?
I wrote a list, which is just to be like straightforward.
Go, we're ready.
Okay. First of all, you don't need to rush. Don't be like impatient to be there, to be out and about with an exhibition. I would say that like research is very important, and understand who you are as an identity, who you want to be, and what you want to communicate. Like these are the core of being an artist. So I think like the introspective part is very important, to understand who you are, who you want to be, and then the message. Now, behind that, there is a lot of research. you need to really research a lot. And I would say also travel, I would say like meet people. And then during this process, you can start to produce, you can start to, to test something, like participate in a project or doing some residency or these kind of things. But I would say like not push too hard to be in exhibitions and to be featured in a book or something like that. So
that's more inwards and into developing who you are rather than trying to showcase different.
Yes. Because that will reflect a lot on a final result, right? So
interesting. I was talking to on this point. We interviewed previously as well. A brand. She's like a marketing specialist and does a lot of work for brands and creates content, basically online content. And one of the things that she had mentioned is exactly that, is going through some self identification process with a life coach helped her to identify the identity of her company, which solidified and was the breakthrough moment for her to get success. Was not necessarily through just doing a lot of work, but through really creating a unique identity and one that's so well engraved that it was easy, people could identify them.
I mean, I would say don't limit yourself with the typical stereotypes. So for example, the stereotype of the artist, okay, I have to do a work, I have to be in a gallery, in a cool gallery space, and I have to sell my work for $50,000. I mean, you can eventually reach there, but it's good to start small and start with experimenting, experiment a lot. This is very important, and innovate all the time. So when you experiment, you are understanding your visual vocabulary, right? So as an artist, so you create a project, and then eventually you succeed. Now, when you succeed, that's not the end. You have to keep going. So when you create your own formula, let's say, there are artists, for example, that they manage to work with certain formula. They always replicate that formula. There is artists who use, for example, certain type of brush, a certain type of elements in their photos, for example. They are very recognizable. So they work in series, right? Which become very successful, for example. But then at some point, when you reach the plateau, you have to innovate. So you have to innovate. So you have to either evolve that part of your body of work, or change, or like have some sort of metamorphosis. I don't know, but you have to innovate. You have to keep innovating. Otherwise, you reach that
plateau. Yeah.
So that's another part. Another thing I will keep say that look, watch other people, ask questions, experience, travel a lot, look, research, evaluate, use a lot your brain with the like understanding, and ask always why. These are always the question. Asking why, it helps you to also define
a lot of deeper thinking.
Yeah,
a lot of depth.
Constantly. Yes.
And presence. It sounds like you have to be really present and involved in conscious, aware.
Yes. Yeah. These are more or less the things.
Awesome.
In terms of, I think you mentioned also something about pricing the work, and now we talk about the perspective part. Now, when the artists, like, let's say, somehow emerge and start to become like more, let's say, established, I think it's important to have like a continuous production. Like some artists, for example, produce a full series of work in 6 months. Some artists produce the same amount of work in 2 years. It depends. They have their own routine. So I think it's good to define that routine and work on it always. work on that routine, and then try to always to have everything on schedule. For example, having an exhibition every 2 years, for example, in a solo show, and twice a year an exhibition in a museum, and have your sales, for example, set. This is not really my expertise, but I would say that once you have your set
routine,
like routine,
calendar,
especially when it comes to cost, for example, how much you will price your work, for example. Once you define that cost, you can work on, for example, say, okay, we do unique pieces, or you do limited editions, for example. That will help also to achieve a certain target.
Absolutely. That's good. That's good advice. Where do you think the best avenues are for new artists to showcase their work? Like, social media is very powerful.
Yes.
But can you, is this the only avenue, or what would you advise them to do?
Well, it depends. If you're talking about local community, there are certain way, or if you're talking about global community, there is not
going to be online
more than the digital platforms.
Yeah.
And nowadays, when we say digital platforms, is too wide. So I would say that when we want to promote globally, we have to use different platforms that goes on social media or digital space. So I would say, for example, Instagram or a website. A website also, many people consider it like obsolete, but I still believe that like a good website is always important to have. In terms of outreach, we can't deny that Instagram became like the main platform to outreach artists or to interact. So on a global level, if you're talking about local and regional, in the UAE and the region, I think we are lucky here. The artists are very lucky because there are many initiatives and institutions and organizations that promote artists on different level. I'm not saying that everything is good, but it's there is a support for that. I think there is a good
so
support.
Register on and find these different
yeah, well, there is, if we want to name one, for example, Tashkil in Dubai is amazing. They are doing a great job. They also create a database of artists on their website, and they promote their work in different forms. Then in Sharjah, I think on different scale, of course, there is the Sharjah Art Foundation, and with their like full program of activities, they have a lot of opportunities. And then also in Abu Dhabi, I think through the initiatives by the Department of Culture and Tourism and the Sheikh Salama Foundation also. Sheikh Salama Foundation have a very good fellowship program. And in Dubai, again, Jameel Art Foundation Art Centre, they have also a program with grants, with funds for emerging artists. Now, recently, they announced something for a microfund for emerging artists. So there are a lot of things, and it's very much diverse than before.
Awesome.
More also articulated from different levels, from a big production of $100,000 to micro funds like the one that they recently announced for $1,000. So that means that they target also different range of artists. They target the established, they target the emerging, the mid-career, and then the very little emerging artists or independent initiatives.
Super. So basically set up a good account on Instagram as an artist and register and go and register and find out what's happening locally and where the best avenues are to promote you locally and do some projects that way. Great. Thanks for all the tips. Honestly, It was such a pleasure to get into the head of Giuseppe for an hour and just to learn so much. I feel like we could actually talk for days. So I'm really excited to follow up on Nnation 2.0 and to discover, these new mediums. And we definitely have to stay in touch.
Sure, definitely.
All right. Take care.
Looking forward.
Thank you. Ciao.
Thank you, Noor. Bye.
Ultraviolet DXB. This is Ultraviolet.